Pickle! Hit the arrow sign. And the food got there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's what you did. You did the vacation version of that. It's like you went on vacation, and then you came back, and it's football season.
Love football season. It's my favorite season.
It is my favorite season. It's Thanksgiving season, and it's football season, which overlap.
Yeah, they're together.
Today is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. 113 days till Thanksgiving. Get your plan in order right now. No matter what, get your plan in order right now. Happy birthday to Ashley Pickle. Happy birthday, Pickle.
Wow.
Happy birthday,
It's
Pickle.
absolutely not my birthday.
And also Tom Brady. Happy birthday to noted cheater Tom Brady, who turns 45 today.
Controversy just seems to swirl around this man. It's
he was suspended. Was he not?
Yeah.
He was suspended for his part in deflating the footballs.
Yeah.
Deflate Gate.
That's right. That's a terrible name. We shouldn't.
No,
Now the
it's
Dolphins
not.
are losing a pick in
I know.
some relation to him, too. It's
Exactly
just
right.
nuts.
Anyway, episode 1427. On today's show, mis amigos y mis amigas, we will go to This Week in Recruiting. It's a different kind of This Week in Recruiting, where we're going to go through 10 commits from last week. It's a big week.
Huge week.
We're going to talk about all of those big commits coming up here in a moment. In the back half of the program, Powers caught up with the recruiting coordinator at Crowley, R.J. Bond, talking a little bit about what's going on, what's cooking over there at Crowley. We'll hear from him coming up the back half of the program. But first, Mademoiselle, do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Nick Morton, Tony Blaylock, Just Chad, and Aaron Arbuckle. Welcome in, fellas.
Welcome in, my friends. Okay, let's do it. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this segment is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, I'm firmly on the TV diet right now, and so that this is a painful ad read to do for me because I yearn for the sweet embrace of Chicken Express.
I'll tell you who doesn't have to yearn for Chicken Express anymore.
Oh, yeah?
And that's the good folks in Santo, Texas. They can get Chicken Express now as their location open on August 1st. So head on over
Let's
there.
go.
Congratulations to
Santo.
Chicken Express.
Making money moves.
Congratulations to Santo. Honestly, congratulations for that community. That's big for that community. Some
That's
people,
big doings.
like honestly, some people put state championships on the water tower.
Yeah.
I would put
Chicken
have
Express.
a Chicken Express on
This
the
is
water
going to be a
tower.
popular location, I think, on Friday nights.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the one thing I like. I know the Chicken Express near me. It's open until 10. I'm not telling Chicken Express how to do.
Man,
their-
on Fridays
do
you
their
open
work.
up till like midnight.
If you were to show up, they were to open up till midnight.
Just on Fridays.
They could just on just home Friday nights.
Home Friday nights,
like,
yeah.
They're to do that. Boy, they could pay their rent. Like, just get that done in one night because I know where I would go. Although I'm busy till 1, and I can't in good conscience ask them to stay awake till 1.
It's always my pregame meal. As a matter of fact, we should contact our friends at Chicken Express. If I can eat Chicken Express every Friday of the season, there has to be some sort of deal there. Could I at least get like
Could you get
chicken
like a card or like if they could just send you like, so it's, you don't need it for state championships because state championships
right?
is
Well, it makes it tough.
if they could give you 16 coupons just for like a Chicken Express box, like because you're a number 1 guy, right?
Right.
Get a number 1.
Yeah.
Like you would be instantly happier.
Oh yeah, definitely. I eat it. I mean, let's be honest. There are a certain amount of the weekends during the season, I'm eating Chicken Express anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I could eat it once like I could pull that off.
Yeah.
I don't think it would-
I think you could definitely pull that off. Anyway, love you, Chicken
I
Express.
love fried chicken.
It's fried chicken.
Let's get to This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. This is a special commitment edition of This Week in Recruiting because we're going to take a look at 10 new Texas high school football commitments.
And we're close to 30.
They were
this
close
week.
to 30, so you called it down.
Hashtag
Yeah.
Cruton
This
never
is not,
stops.
these are not the only 10.
Right.
There were close to 30 big name commitments this week. We've got 10. We're going to start with probably the biggest one, and that is Denton Ryan linebacker Anthony Hill, who we have as our number 3 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100, a DCTF 5-star. He committed this week to Texas A&M, beating out most notably Texas, but apparently also Alabama and Oklahoma there. And yeah, look, there's no doubt, there's no other way of putting this. This is a class-making commitment for Texas A&M.
Yeah, and he's the highest rated linebacker to commit. Actually, he's the highest rated linebacker since we started doing rankings at DCTF in 2012. So we've backdated all the rankings up to 2012, and he's the highest rated linebackers. This is a huge commitment. He's a guy who flat out gets after the football. Legitimate 5-star. We named 3 5-stars so far, and they were all 3 named at the same time because we couldn't really decide. It's tough now. Who's the best player in the state of Texas this year? Is it DJ Hicks?
Yeah.
Is it Reuben Owens?
Yeah.
Is it Anthony Hill?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a strong case could be made for any of these guys. So Texas A&M, by some accounts, got the number 1 player in the state of Texas when Anthony Hill pulled the trigger on that commitment.
They got at worst the number 3 prospect in the state. Like at worst, they got number 3, which pretty darn good.
Bona fide 5-star talent. Really, I think because he was on the radar so early, I thought there were some that were worried about his approach toward the he handled himself like an adult during this process. Not a lot of splashy, bad headlines or anything out there. I think he got good counseling and guidance from his high school coaching staff there as well at Denton Ryan, and I think he's a big-time addition to the A&M defense that's just – I mean, they're loaded up.
Yeah.
Throw in the 5 defensive linemen that they signed last year. I think 4 of them were 5-star prospects. Throw in a 5-star linebacker on top of that.
Front 7 is nasty.
It's going to be great.
Front
in
7
College
is
Station.
nasty.
Defense is going to be nasty.
Yes, for sure. So that's the big one. Anthony Hill committing to Texas A&M. Let's stay on the defensive side and go to Austin Westlake. Talk about probably. I wouldn't classify Anthony Hill committing to A&M as a shocker. I think that. At worst, it was a 50-50 shot.
And I'll say that Texas is not giving up in this. This is this is going to be a battle.
Yeah.
They're going to
until pen meets paper.
Yeah. This is going to be one that goes all the way down to the wire.
Yeah. This, I think, is a shocker. And it's Austin Westlake defensive end Colton Vasek, who is our number 9 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. He committed to Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma getting a big-time commit from the state of Texas is not a shocker. What's a shocker is Colton Vasek, who goes to Westlake, and his dad played for UT. This is, I mean, this came across my radar, and I was stunned.
I was a little shocked too, but I thought there was a strong chance he didn't end up at Texas. I thought it was a coin flip, right? But I thought he was going to commit to Oregon. We talked about it a little bit in the past. Oregon had really done a great job putting their best foot forward in his recruitment. I did not think it was going to be the other side of the rivalry. I know that OU was in that top 3, top 4, and he was strongly considering them. But whenever I saw that news come across while I was on vacation, I was like, wow, this is a huge coup for OU to not only get a guy whose father played at Texas, he plays his high school football underneath of the nose of the UT coaching staff there in Austin, and has led a defense that, maybe the best defense I've seen.
Yeah.
Under the
It's been
Friday
a
Night
long
Lights.
time. Yeah, I mean
they were tremendous last year.
Them and 2015 Katie are the two that really spring to mind in recent history.
I think Aiden Hutchinson's a good comparison
for
Vosick, and I think that he has a chance to follow that roadmap at OU. Wherever he went, he was going to be good, but I think he could be a potential first-round draft pick in the NFL.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're a recruiting analyst. But Vosick, who we have at number 9, in a lot of other classes, he'd be a 5-star. Like a lot of other classes besides the class of 2023, he'd be a 5-star. That is just he's number 9 because the depth there at the very top is insane.
We're a little bullish on him too. I don't know that anybody else has him this high in their ratings right now. Maybe there are some rankings out there that do. Of the major services, I don't think that there's anyone else that has him this high. So I'm a little bullish on him. I think that his ceiling is really high. I think he has a great potential to develop into a college star, and what I really loved about his game is that he got better week by week. I think he's a guy who steps on the field this year and blows everybody's socks off. He's the guy who has developed into that guy.
And there was also, for me, in watching him, as the stage got bigger, he played better. Now part of that is just the natural development. He's playing and he's getting better, but and the games are getting bigger as they go. But it struck me that he was a wrecking machine in the title game. He was a wrecking machine in the semifinals, a wrecking machine in the regional semifinals. He built up and he got better as the lights got brighter.
The confidence got better too, and then I think he's peaking on that because I think he maybe had 4 offers when we watched him in the state championship game, and now he's offered by everybody across the country. I think that only is going to make him better.
Yeah. So that's one guy who won a state championship last year. Let's go to another guy who won a state championship last year, and the number 10 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. Dalton Brooks, the Shiner Column athlete, running back, defensive back, plays a little bit of everything for Shiner. He's our number 10 prospect. He committed also to Texas A&M this weekend. And I'll just say this. I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, yeah, he's so great, but he's doing it at the 2A level. Bro, I don't care. You could put him on a 6A roster, and he would be a menace there as well. Dalton Brooks is the real stinking deal. What I'm interested in is where A&M plays him, because I think he could be a star in the backfield, and I think he could also be a star at safety.
That's the way I feel about it, too. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. We get an opportunity to rank him as an athlete. We don't have to say, oh, he's going to be a wide receiver. He's going to be a safety. What I love about Brooks is that he's done it for a long time, right? He's been the best player on his team. He's been the best player. He's the type of player that can win you a state championship at the 2A level. That's what you expect out of a top recruit.
At the very least, he has been the best player on the team for a 2-time state champion, both his sophomore year and his junior year, and figures to be the best player on the team for the number 1 team in 2A Division 1 this year.
And I love his track numbers too. That translates whether you play at the 2A level or the 6A level. He's around an 11 100-meter dash guy, 22 200-meter dash guy, also competes in the triple jump and the long jump. So all-around athleticism, another huge pickup for Texas A&M. They got 2 top 10 recruits this week.
Seems good. Good job, A&M. Keep doing what you're doing. It's going well. All right. Let's continue on our 10 commitments that we're highlighting this week here in Texas football today. Let's talk about Dripping Springs quarterback Austin Novosad.
I'm going to catch some grief. I know it's not a new commitment.
Who committed to Baylor. He had technically been verbally committed, but he at least shut down for now the whispers that he was looking elsewhere, because I know he had gone on some visits to A&M, Notre Dame, Ohio State most notably, but he recommitted, let's say, to Baylor and kind of doubled down and said, no, I'm staying at Baylor. There were a lot of rumblings that he was going to flip. When Ohio State gets involved in a quarterback situation, you feel like that they're going to win that out. But give a lot of credit to Baylor. They're able to hold on to him at least for now.
Yeah, and A&M, I think, probably thought that they had a really good shot at securing a commitment from him as well. They offered him right around the time of State 7-on-7, where we bumped him up to the number 32 prospect in the state here in DCTF 4-star status. This is the marquee recruit for Baylor. They could get someone rated higher than him in the top 100, right? They could get a top 5 prospect, a top 10 prospect. If they do, I still think this is the guy that they needed. As I assessed their class last year on National Signing Day, I thought the one key piece that they were missing was a quarterback in that class. But they softened that blow because they had already gotten a commitment from Novosad.
Yes.
If they would have lost him, I think it would have really I don't want to say the wheels would have fell off because they'll do what they do. But there wasn't a guy that they could just go out and replace him with.
It would have been crisis mode there for the class of 2023 for Baylor.
It was going to be transfer portal time, I think. There's not a guy in the state that you could have replaced him with, and I don't know out of state how much traction they could have gotten this late in the process with some other guys.
Yeah. That's a really big news there for Baylor. They're able to hold on to Austin Novosad. Now, I'll ask you a question. Now, he had some quote that I believe he gave to 24/7 that, he said basically why he's sticking with Baylor and stuff like that. He did leave the door open a little bit, saying like unless something crazy happens, I don't see it. Do you think this is done and dusted for Baylor?
Well, I think that something crazy happening is a coaching change.
Yeah.
Right? Or they take another quarterback.
Yeah.
With them or that's what I see as something crazy happening in that recruitment. It's not often that you make an early commitment to a team, get all these other offers, really assess your situation, and then issue a recommitment.
Yeah.
And then don't plan to sign.
That's very true. I think that's absolutely.
He doesn't strike me as that type.
I agree.
He's very contemplative as he went through this process.
Let's continue. Let's go on the other side of a rivalry. Baylor got a big commit from a quarterback, and TCU got a big commit from a running back. Round Rock Stony Point running back Cameron Cook committed this week to TCU, the number 42 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. This is a guy who is a true all-purpose back. They get him the ball in a variety of different ways, and he makes things happen. This got to be close to the highest-rated prospect in the TCU class for Sonny Dykes, right? It's got to be. This is a real important get, I think, for TCU.
Savion Carter, he's number 25. Mm-hmm. Cameron Cook is number 42. 2 4-stars. Cordell Russell at number 53. I mean, any other year he's a 4. Like he's a 4-star.
Yes.
Type of
4-star talent. We put dumb rules on this.
I know. I'll stand by the rules, and just to reassess for those listening, the rules are top 5 prospects in state 5 stars, next 45 rounding out the top 50 4 stars, corresponding recruits within the top 300-ish are going to be 3 stars in the state of Texas. Maybe a little bit more than 300 most years, and this year is really loaded. But Cameron Cook, I love Cameron Cook. This is a guy who everybody knows is getting the football. Mm-hmm. And no one can do anything to stop him. Yeah. He is super – greased lightning is the way I would describe his game. And he's hard to tackle, he's hard to catch, and he's a great pass catcher as well. So he's a very well-rounded all-purpose back, and I think he's really going to fit into that offense tremendously in Fort Worth.
Big get there for Sonny Dykes and company getting the commitment from Cameron Cook. Should be a dynamic playmaker for the Horned Frogs. Let's continue. Still in the top 50. Number 46 in the DCTF Hot 100, Cy Woods defensive tackle Terrence Green. Here's a guy who has certainly been on the rise. He's been a guy who has not been number 46 forever, I believe. He's been pretty quickly on the rise. And in the end, Cy Woods defensive tackle Terrence Green is going to be wearing green and gold up there in Oregon as the Ducks bring in Cy Woods defensive tackle
I think
Terrence
they're
Green.
green and yellow.
I
think gold is a stretch.
I was actually going to say, like, great knowledge to just rattle off green and gold because I don't think gold.
No, it's definitely yellow. They're too bright. You can't say gold.
It's green and yellow. I apologize. It's green and yellow.
Boom! I know my colors.
Green and yellow.
So we both had a shadow of a doubt, but I wasn't going to say that you were wrong.
I will call you out.
Pickle was.
They're definitely green because they're ducks.
Yes.
But anyway, Terrence Green rather, go from Cy Woods heading to Oregon. This is a nice commitment here for the Ducks.
Love his potential upside as well. A long arm defensive. He plays a lot of defensive end. I think he probably is going to end up being like a strong side defensive end / defensive tackle. But he can play offensive tackle as well because he has that rare length that's needed to play that position. And I say just get him on campus, figure it out later. But Oregon is historically, although they've been through different coaches as they've done this, they have recruited these bigger jumbo defensive linemen and let them stick on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe that's played a part into his decision-making process. But Oregon, certainly a school that was high for Green for a long time, and he just went ahead and pulled the trigger on that commitment.
Good get there for Oregon. Let's continue talking about the big commitments this week. The number 67 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100 is Cedar Hill linebacker Kylan Salter. This is a guy who was the linebacker MVP at the Next Level Athlete, the Texas Top 100 Showcase in Dallas. He is now a TCU commit, staying local as well, heading over to Fort Worth. And 6'1", 205. This is a guy you want first off the bus, basically.
Yeah, he's a scary-looking dude.
I was going to say, I always remember
jacked.
your interview with him, and I was like, Powers looks like a pipsqueak next to that kid.
Yeah, he is jacked. And he was.
I don't buy that he's 205.
You know, it's tough to believe, but he's just so well put together. Yeah. I can tell you. I mean,
that's muscle.
Let me tell you. I can give you the exact.
He's got to be
no
like
body
0.3 body fat. You know what I mean?
This was his January exact height and weight. And we had him at 6'1", 205.
He's
on the dot.
Shredded. And this guy.
That's crazy.
This is the guy you want first off the bus. He looks the part, and he plays the part too.
Yeah, and I think that he's had a setback for this season with a little bit of an injury, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get back on the field this year. But he was the marquee player in a Cedar Hill defense that I think was going to be their calling card for this. They need to play great defense to compete in that district, and they have to reset some things on offense. So they were going to lean on that defense. And this was a big commitment for Sonny Dykes because you know who has a pretty good relationship at Cedar Hill? Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. So to beat out Texas Tech for Salter's commitment is a big deal. And I think that as he transitions into college, he could be that inside linebacker who can play sideline to sideline for them. He's on the Cedar Hill 4x1 and 4x2. So that kind of tells you what – I mean –
which is not easy to crack.
Note to the fans out there, Cedar Hill's track team, they're fast.
Pretty good, yes. So keep an eye on him.
Breaking news here on
so
TFT.
Kylan Salter heading to TCU. Let's continue our commit palooza here. Let's go with what I would categorize as the steal of the week.
Okay.
And that is – Oregon State has landed a commitment from the number 71 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100, Montrell Hatton, the Carthage wide receiver. I love this kid. You know how I am. I want to watch high school football games and be like, who's the best player on the field? Montrell Hatton, in pretty much every game Carthage played last year, maybe outside of the China Spring game with Major Bowden, was the best player on the field. And certainly looked the part. This is I think for Oregon State, who's done a sneaky good job coming into Texas and plucking some guys. Jalen O'Neal, I believe, is committed from Manville. Last year they got Damian Martinez from Louisville. They get another they kind of swoop in and grab another one in Montrell Hatton.
A kid who does everything at Carthage, right? He's first team all district basketball. He's their best offensive player. He's their best track athlete, probably, maybe. I mean, I don't know all my track information, but I would assume that Montrell Hatton is pretty good there.
Yeah.
I just love what he does, on the field. He's a guy who can high point the football really well. He's like one of those receivers that kind of lulls you to sleep as a fan, right? Like you don't expect to see him or don't necessarily notice all the great things he's done. Then you look at the stat line and he's caught, 7 passes for 180 yards, mossed someone and, outdistanced someone to the end zone for 2 touchdowns. So that's the type of player Montrell Hatton is. And Carthage players, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they are pretty good. They're well coached, and he's going to be a problem. I think that's awesome for the Beavers to get.
We've literally been going from Baylor to TCU up to Oregon and then back down.
Well, let's go back to TCU.
Okay.
We listed them in order. We listed them in order of
DCTF
ranking.
Yes,
I'm just saying they're on the recruiting trail hard right now.
TCU gets their 3rd commitment in the top 72.
Yeah.
As DCTF number 72 prospect Dickinson cornerback Vernon Glover. Who was the MVP at the ESPN Elite Underclassmen Camp in Houston. He has committed to TCU as well. This is your number 1 cornerback. Plain and simple.
I wanted to roll highlights of Glover at Dickinson in particular because sometimes it's hard to encapsulate how good defensive backs are. I love his stickiness. He really hangs with receivers tightly. It's hard for them to get steps on him. I really like his ability to turn his hips and get up the field. He's plenty fast. Good size. You'll see him listed anywhere from 5'11 to 6'1. I think we officially had him at 5'11, so he has good size for a cornerback prospect. Dickinson's going to let him get after the ball carrier a little bit and move him around to do some different things. But a true cornerback prospect who will have to cover some pretty good receivers in the Big 12. And I think this is a pretty monumental commitment for TCU because this is a guy who had Texas and other, major offers across the country. So this is a pretty big deal for this commitment. And he was a little bit lower rated than the other two guys, but I think the level of importance is there with this grab.
Let me tell you what I like about his highlights. There's a couple things. One, I think that you're right. He's a guy who plays faster than maybe like his laser time would tell you. Like he's a guy who his skill set kind of overcomes what is good speed, but not like elite jaw-dropping speed. But the other thing I like about this, on this highlight, we've already seen 4 special teams plays.
Right.
And Sonny Dykes is going to, probably as a freshman, he's going to be out there on special teams as a playmaker because he's obviously got that skill set. And sometimes, especially for guys who are prospects, it can be hard. It can be hard to to get guys to buy in on special teams. No getting him to buy in on special teams. He is a guy who wants to get after it. So Vernon Glover, the Dickinson cornerback, rounds out a really nice week for TCU. Speaking of rounding out really nice weeks, let's round out this really nice week of This Week in Recruiting by rounding out a really nice week for Texas A&M as they pick up, I think, an under-the-radar prospect here in Atascocita defensive tackle Samu Tamanu Pepe. Did I get right?
Good job.
Taumanu Pepe.
Okay, I'm going to give myself a B+. Taumanu Pepe.
I really like that.
He's a DCTF 3-star. He is in the DCTF top 300. Here's a guy who got basically an insta-commit. He got the offer from A&M. He committed, said it was his dream school. Here's what he's got. 6'3", 280, and you can't teach that up front. The defensive tackle, Samu Taumanu Pepe. And by the way, Atascocita's got a pretty good history of putting out big boys in the trenches.
Yeah, and this is a commitment that I think we look back on potentially, and it's going to be feast or famine.
Yes.
Right? Like this is either going to be a huge coup. They were able to find this giant defensive lineman that no one else in the state was super hard on, and were able to pull a shocking commitment, and he's going to be a beast, right? Or he can't get in playing shape and doesn't get a play. That's the question mark, I think. I think they saw when he visited campus on July 30th, he's put in the work this offseason. And that's not only good news for Samu, that's good news for Atascocita.
Oh, yeah.
Because this guy can be a huge difference maker in their program. And he's already pretty good, right? Like he's already a guy who we know about. He's already been making plays. Our guys at Texan Live probably love to say his name on air every weekend.
Taumanu Pepe.
Yeah. But I think this is a high ceiling commitment, right?
Well, and let me tell you, I don't want to tell you how to do your job out there, Texas high school football fans. But if you just want to follow around Atascocita for the first couple of weeks, they open against Dickinson, so you can go see Vernon Glover, and then next week they're playing at Katy. So right then, get a snoot full of Dickinson early.
And if you're not in the area, you can watch it all on TexanLive.com.
Wow!
There you go.
Pickle, I just put it on the tee.
And I drove that thing 350 yards down. I was going to go golf.
T-ball.
I feel bad
Wrong.
for not putting Samu's highlights now on this. If you're a fan of high school football recruiting, Texas A&M, go to his DCTF profile and watch his junior highlights. This dude, he's destroying kids.
Yeah.
He's destroying kids. It is really fun to watch. He's massive first and foremost. He's playing at the 6A level, so the guys he's going up against are big as well. But I'm going to embed it. I'll embed his profile into this article. This Week in Recruiting, I'm going to embed his profile now so you can go watch his highlights. They're a blast.
A guy who's always embedded with us. He is Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, stick around because I need you to introduce our guest.
I'll be here.
We're at Texas Football Tonight. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. We've got the 2A and 1A preview of Tep and Step up right now.
Whoa.
We're going to have the 4A and 3A preview of Tep and Step up on Friday morning. It'll be in your feed if you go to texasfootball.com/subscribe. It's for insiders only. A lot of good stuff. Plus, we'll if you don't want to run around to Brookshire's, Walmart, HEB, magazines should start hitting shelves maybe even as early as today. But if you don't want to wait or you don't want to look around, go to texasfootball.com/subscribe. We'll mail you one right now. Let's talk a little bit about our friends at Athletes to Athletes. Every athlete wants to play with the best, and every parent wants their child to get the very best experience. But is basing your recruiting based on top 25 rankings really the best strategy? What about academics or location? What about coaching style, financial aid? There's a lot of factors that should be considered when selecting a college program outside of just on-field performance. Our friends at Athletes to Athletes, they've put together a recruiting guide centered around providing a broader, more holistic perspective about what your college experience could be. It's got checklists. It's got do's and don'ts. It's got key strategies and tons more in this 22-page guide. It covers everything you and your family should know as you walk through your college recruiting journey. And for a limited time only, Athletes to Athletes is offering this guide for free to our audience here at TFT. Just go to athletesToAthletes.com/Dave Campbell today to download the free college recruiting guide. That's athletesToAthletes.com/Dave Campbell for the college recruiting guide presented of our friends at Athletes to Athletes. You can also scan the QR code there, and it'll take you directly there. And now for a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
Powers, who'd you talk to this week?
Darn
We
it,
caught
I didn't
up with
get a picture.
Crowley recruiting coordinator R.J. Bond, a man who he's one of the first people I met covering recruiting in Texas. Used to be the recruiting coordinator at Dallas Skyline with Coach Samples back in the day. So they had a lot of big talent, and now he's the recruiting, not only the recruiting coordinator at Crowley, he oversees recruiting for all athletes at Crowley. So pretty good insight here if you're a high school athlete who wants to get to the next level. Picked his brain on some tips.
Here is R.J. Bond of Crowley here on Texas Football Today.
Greg Powers, I'm out here at the THSCA Coaching School / Coaching Convention, and I'm with my man R.J. Bond. Coach, we go back a long time.
I think we're about 2008 maybe?
Maybe even before that. You were the recruiting coordinator back at Dallas Skyline in those days, and,
right.
You've seen a lot of talent throughout your days, but you're also a guy who I feel like offers a lot of wisdom to offer recruits and their families throughout this process. And now you're the campus recruiting coordinator at Crowley, where you're overseeing not only football, you're overseeing some other sports as well. What's that role been like for you?
Man, this is my first time. I'm really excited. Being coaching 17, 18 years now, I've coached at Crowley before, and sometimes it's kind of hard to, get that rejuvenation feeling.
Yeah.
This actually did it. It's a spark. I look at it as a good challenge, a big challenge for me, something I've probably been working toward my whole career. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to be able to work with all the coaches, try to help as many kids in Crowley High School have an opportunity to further their education through avenue of athletics. So it's important, and I'm excited.
When a young man or woman comes to you and says, I have aspirations of playing at the next level? What are some of the steps you guide them through to help them maybe achieve those goals, live out their dreams?
First thing is academics. The first thing I want to do is see where their mind is, how their grades look, because without that, the rest doesn't matter. If you don't take care of the books and your GPA is not correct, and I know the test score is kind of going by the wayside a little bit, but if all those things don't line up, it doesn't matter what you do on the field. So that's the first thing we talk about. I want to make sure they're taking classes that are going to allow them to be NCAA eligible. Not just taking a math class that doesn't match. And that stuff changes every year. Like, for example, when I first got in this, math models counted. So that could be your third math.
Okay.
Math models doesn't count no more. So why are you taking it? You taking it just so you can get a math credit? Well, I understand you have to take X amount of hours to graduate high school as well, but let's make sure those hours are also going to translate into you being NCAA eligible. So I'll look at those. Those are some of the very first things that I try to address with student athletes.
One really popular topic of conversation here this week with the college coaches has been the NIL, right? And we hear all the time from the college side of it, right? Like we hear all the time or see, Bijan at Texas is driving a Lambo or something like that. But what is like the feeling in a high school locker room as it relates to that stuff? I know it doesn't translate to a lot of players and recruits and their families necessarily, but the perception is now that everybody's getting paid when that's not necessarily the case. How do you navigate through that, and what's basically the feeling kind of behind the scenes for a high school staff, a high school recruiting coordinator?
Well, one thing, and it's not just so much unique to Texas, but the fact that while they're playing, they really can't sign anything.
Right.
The UIL is not allowing them to do that. So, yes, it's an issue, but it's not an immediate thing because some of them, they're not allowed to do it anyway. And what I would tell people or tell these student athletes is a lot of it has to do with, how you're recruited and where you're recruited to. If you're a kid that's being recruited to A&M's Kingsville, that's not the same as being recruited to A&M.
Right.
So if you get an NIL from A&M Kingsville, you're that's amazing, but expect one or you're probably going to get one from A&M. You got to kind of look at your lane, run your race. You can't, I always say you can't look at nobody else's pockets. I think it can, in ways it can have kids, which is kind of fun to say, in a way it can have kids commit for the wrong reasons. If you're saying committing for money is the wrong reason, everybody wants money. That's why we take different jobs.
Right.
But that might not be the best situation for every kid.
Right.
Money doesn't always make everything right.
Sure.
So I think as a coach for us, we got to help try to guide the kids to look beyond the money sometimes. How the situation is going to fit you and benefit you to graduate, because that's obviously what I hope our goal is, to graduate from college. So I think we have to do a good job of making sure we're kind of looking through all the fluff. Now it's not.
Sure.
I mean, we don't get the money no way, so it has nothing to do with us. But that can drive things. And I'm not going to say it's a positive or negative yet because I haven't.
It's too early.
Yeah. We're trying to still see how this works.
Yeah, it makes me nervous a little bit as we talk about high school sports, too, is I like that the Texas legislature doesn't allow kids to have NIL money while they're in high school. I support them, especially getting it as soon as they get into college. Yes. But I think it's a sticky situation as you think about maybe where that money could lead you to, like when you're talking about a transfer to another program in high school. Yes. So that kind of makes me nervous. But we know, we've done this long enough. Every recruitment is unique and individual to that family, that recruit. They have their own set of situations that they have to deal with. So it's hard to give sometimes broad advice.
Right.
Because, you really have to focus on that individual, So that's how at least that's how I
No, you're right. Some people are in a situation where that money can help and be used right now. I mean, I'm in a situation, I know I teach, but NIL will help me too,
Yeah, no doubt.
And you had said something earlier, and we had kind of talked about this, about transferring. I was talking about this with another guy that does recruiting, and I don't want to get in the situation where because Texas doesn't allow kids to have it, that kids are going to California and going to different states that are allowing them to do it, kind of like what happened with the Southlake quarterback. He went to Ohio State early so he can get his money because he couldn't do an UIL. I don't want Texas to start losing their top guys because we do things a different way here. You
Right.
know, and I hope it doesn't get to that, you know, and I would hope that those colleges that are recruiting these kids aren't wanting them to do that either. You know,
Right.
I can give you the money out here in California, so come to a school in California and play,
Sure.
you know, and leave, you know, just
Florida, wherever
I don't want,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think it's right for college coaches to entice kids to do that either, so they can get the NIL earlier. I hope it doesn't come to that. Not saying it is, or not saying I've heard anything like that, but you never know once Pandora's box is open, you never know what's going to come out. you know?
Right.
So
And once it's out, it's harder to get it back in,
It
too,
is.
you know. So I'm glad that, in a way, we're at least taking a slower approach.
Yes.
You know, you never want to behoove anybody for getting a payday, like you said.
Right.
Like, you want to support people that earn money on what they deserve, right? Like, so it is a tricky situation, but once it starts to happen, you can see, and we're seeing it now in other states where once it's out there, the floodgates are open.
It's open.
You know, and I'm glad that we're taking a more conservative approach towards it, but I'm hopeful that it'll all work out in the end.
I think it will.
That's R.J. Bond. You heard why he's one of the best in the game. He's coached some of the best in the game, and he's one of the best recruiting coordinators in the state of Texas. Coach Bond, I appreciate your time, and of course, good luck with this upcoming season.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There is R.J. Bond, Crowley recruiting coordinator, former Dallas Skyline recruiting coordinator.
Wealth of knowledge.
Wealth of knowledge. Knows the recruiting game inside and out from both sides of the Metroplex and across the state. So we appreciate his time there at the THSEA Coaching School and Convention in San Antonio. Let's go over to noted Cowboys fan, Ashley Pickle, for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be preseason games happening this month, so I figured it was okay for me to start repping. Go boys. We are, in fact, them boys.
Sure.
They
Need a receiver.
Yeah,
I
I got it. They asked, did I? Yeah, like, this is my last week.
I think
I'm going to
I think the
be
receiver. I think the
receivers.
receiver core low-key sucks right now.
Well, yeah,
I
because
like
we
CeeDee
got rid
Lamb
of,
a lot,
yeah.
but like,
You should send him your 7-on-7 or your flag football.
let's
highlight.
go.
No, I would be a DB at that point.
I have ridden an elevator with Stephen Jones at the state championship games once when he was going to watch his son,
Oh, yeah,
John
yeah.
Stephen, play for Highland Park. Yeah. Anyway, go on. With your point.
There was a couple of people asking when magazines will be out. So they are being shipped to stores all across the state as we speak.
Like right now, they're on trucks.
Yeah. So our printer, I mean, we can tell people our printer is in Carrollton, which is in the DFW. So around this area, they'll probably start coming out. Down 35, they'll start coming out. If you're in a smaller town, we do not control how fast the mail gets there or the freight gets there. So they should be coming out soon. If you're in a very small town, we all know it takes a while to get things out there. I grew up in one. So just be patient. But they're
on their
legitimately
way, I
on the
promise.
trucks now, like as
Promise
we
they're on
speak.
it. My recommendation would be whatever store you usually pick it up at: Walmart, Brookshire's, HEB, Kroger. You know, your grocery store, Barnes and Noble. Call ahead. Don't
Yeah.
drive around. Call ahead and just ask, "Hey, do you have the Dave Campbell's?" And they'll know what you're talking about, and you're not going to be the first person to call. 'Cause
Yeah.
And if you live in Frisco and you want to be a subscriber, mash the subscribe button and I'll come personally deliver your magazine to you.
Whoa, let's go.
Boom. Just drive it straight, drop it right off on your doorstep.
All right, here's a promise. I'm gonna call you out.
You think someone's going to do it?
If you are in Frisco, you live in Frisco, and you subscribe today, Greg Powers will hand deliver your magazine by the end of the week. Is that fair?
Fair.
Done. Awesome. So
One
we will be
magazine.
looking.
One magazine.
We have to flag Emma and let her
Okay.
know.
Yeah, you gotta tweet
and just say,
us.
Hey, if you get
you
get
have to tweet us with the subscription thing, so
tweet
that
me
way
your
we
power or
know.
something. But you got to live in Frisco, and if you live in Frisco and you subscribe today, you have to subscribe today. Powers will bring you a magazine, and only the first one, only one. So you got to be the
There you
first
go.
one.
This is
So,
amazing.
there
Someone
you go.
do it, please.
That's gonna do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Oh, Republic of Football today, 2:00.
Yes.
Watch it. It's live. We're back live in studio. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to R.J. Bond of Crowley for being our guest. Hey, Powers, thanks. You want to come in next week and do it
I'll
too?
be here.
Awesome.
I'll do it.
You're not going to go on another vacation?
Nah, well, I would love to, but I
Boy,
won't.
me too.
Be here at work.
For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.